Hey guys, today's video is going to be a short one. I just wanted to make a video to show you guys something that I learned on Outback that might change the way that you guys maybe see certain risks that you take in the game. So it has to do with fall damage. Now this is something that I didn't really pay too much attention to until I started doing some of these custom game videos for you guys. So when you fall off, right, that shows 6 damage. And that's because you're sitting here on this ledge, right? Now this ledge is going to be the same height no matter where you are, right? But depending on how you fall, it can change exactly how your fall damage works, right? So everyone should kind of know roughly how that is, right? Just because you played the game, you know, you've fallen off things and sometimes you take damage and sometimes you don't take damage. But what I've learned is that there's actually something more interesting. So you see I took 7 damage that time, again from the same way that I took 6 damage. The way that I'm thinking about this is more so the fact that there's a couple factors into it. One, momentum. I've talked to a couple of my friends who played this game at a higher level, and they've said that momentum can change how your fall damage works. Now, that doesn't really account for something like what just happened there, where I should be getting the higher damage because I'm on this ledge here, right? So when you go up on the ledge, right, and you're standing, we saw it do 6 damage the first time, 7 damage the second time, and we just saw it do 7 damage that time. So it seems like there might be a non-integer factor for this. And what I mean by that is when you're doing any sort of anything, when you fall, you might be taking something more along the lines of 6.7 damage, right? And not actually 6 damage or 7 damage, but because your health goes in potentially non-integers, that would account for the differentials, like that 6 damage. So we have 2 6 damage and 2 7 damage. Now this also works with the momentum falls. So if you vault this table, right, and you run off, that's going to do 3 damage, but you'll see that eventually it does 2 damage, and occasionally it'll do 4 damage. Now I don't have enough health to showcase that, but you can see that we're pretty much going up at the exact same spot. We are trying to go right down the middle here where these cigarette things are. We vault the table and then we jump over, and you can see it's doing an inconsistent amount of damage every time, because we saw it do 2, we saw it do 3 a couple times when we were falling before. When we were trying to show you that by being on the edge there, you can end up adjusting the damage based on those small height differentials, even that, what is that, maybe like a 4-inch tumbler, right, between the top of the railing and the bottom of the table there. So small things like that can affect what happens in the game, and places that you might not think of having that kind of risk factor can carry some risk factor for you, because a lot of times you'll think, oh, I'm just going to jump over and I'll be fine. Well, sometimes depending on what surface you're on, if you're running before you start jumping, etc., etc., those things can affect whether or not you might take additional fall damage. And it's a very niche case, but there's naturally situations where you will end up with, you know, let's say maybe like 10, 14, 12, 8 HP left in a game, maybe even 1 HP, and you're trying to win that 1v1, but you have to vault over something to try and get that advantageous angle or try and get the kill. And, well, you might go and accidentally nick yourself a little too hard and end up losing the round. So there's not too many other places that this fall damage is easy to take into consideration. This ledge on Outback is also another one of them, where depending on your height from the fall, you could take a different amount of fall damage, crouching, momentum, etc. So it's just something that you need to be careful of. I know a lot of people will come up here when there is sight in dorms because they get access to the wall and to the windows. And if you accidentally are, you know, playing a little too far back, a little too far forward, you could end up taking enough fall damage that it negatively impacts the round severely. You could end up taking, you know, like you saw from that first fall, I took roughly 25 damage. So depending on what situation you're in, if you're fighting a guy on this window and you accidentally fall off, you could very well end up minus 10 HP. But like we saw the first time, if you were just a little bit further forward on those logs and you actually fall off, well, then you could end up losing 25 HP. If you're down here and you happen to fall off here, right, you don't take any. So just keep in mind that fall damage can vary based on the height that you're at, the momentum you're at, and as well that there is the hidden factor that there doesn't seem to be a consistent number that happens with fall damage like we saw in the beginning segment, where I kept jumping over shark, over shark, over shark at the exact same spot, and you could see it doing 3 damage, 3 damage, 4 damage, 2 damage. You could see it doing 6 damage sometimes and 7 damage other times from just standing still and falling over. So just keep in mind that there's a lot of different factors in fall damage that can end up winning or losing you around based on if you're the one that takes the fall damage or if maybe the enemy's taking the fall damage on accident. That's all for today's video. If you guys like, please just like the video. I mean, it's that simple. Subscribe too if you're interested in more content. I'm gonna have a castle video on Thursday for you guys, and we'll see you guys then. Peace.